What is up? Now today I'm going to be telling you guys if this King Kenny vs Faze Temperrr fight was a robbery or not. This was definitely the most controversial fight on the entire Showstar UK vs USA card. A card that was already packed with a lot of controversy. Probably the most, I guess, embarrassing YouTube boxing show that we've seen so far. From the ring announcer begging the crowd to sit down, stopping fights right before they're about to happen, possibly ruining the way fighters are going to keep going about their fights, to beg people to go sit down so they can actually continue with the event, fights breaking out in the crowd, someone running into the ring during the main event. It was crazy. It was definitely a crazy card, but the biggest source of controversy was this King Kenny versus Faze Temperrr scrap, and it was a good fight, man. On the night, my live scorecard, I gave it to Faze Temperrr. I was rooting for King Kenny, though, and there's a lot of controversy around it, so I went back, took a look at the fight, frame by frame, to tell you guys exactly who won this fight and why, and yeah, let's just jump straight into it. If we go back and look at that very first round, Temperrr was actually landing with a very high rate. Was landing at a very high rate. Kenny, though, he was putting more shots out there, at least at the start, until the midpoint of the round. But Temperrr was the one that was actually landing shots. I went back, looking at this frame by frame. We're seeing a lot of left straights, looping left straights, some shots that are not, I don't know what to call them from Faze Temperrr, but definitely landing, and they were landing clean. And Kenny was just too patient, and he looked too methodical. He was too methodical in there. His jab to the body was good, but he kind of abandoned that as the fight went on. It was definitely a 10-9 for Temperrr in my eyes, man. It really, King Kenny looked more efficient in there, but when I went back, looked at this, slowed it down frame by frame, and from the camera angles, obviously I'm not going to be able to tell every single shot, but from the shots that I saw, Faze Temperrr was landing way more frequently and much more damaging than King Kenny was. King Kenny's shots looked like they were landing. In real time, they looked like they were landing, but upon closer inspection, frame by frame, they actually weren't landing. Temperrr was getting out of the way of the shots. In my eye, it's got to be a round for Faze Temperrr. So in the second round, though, Kenny started a lot stronger. He came out and was actually controlling the ring for the start of the round. He was definitely slipping a lot of shots and really showing off how technical he can be. He wasn't landing a ton of the jabs, but this is where he starts to condition Faze Temperrr to start parrying all of his jabs, which is going to set up more shots, more jabs to the body, which he was still throwing. But Temperrr was throwing, but he did not start landing until around 120 in the round. Temperrr just was not landing any shots. Kenny was slipping and doing a really good job. Some of the shots looked like they landed, but frame by frame, they were not landing. But Kenny, he didn't land a lot either, but he controlled the ring more and actually landed a couple of times. But at around 120, Faze Temperrr lands a nice couple of shots and rocked Kenny. Kenny instantly has the guard back up, but Kenny starts throwing wild overhand rights and lefts, just crazy haymakers. But Faze Temperrr had him rocked and had him rocked bad. His left straight was really good, man. The southpaw stance was a problem for King Kenny to deal with in this fight, and Temperrr just stayed composed after that, and Kenny wasn't able to do any really significant damage. After Temperrr hurt him, he stayed composed, rushed in, blitzed in a little bit, but then King Kenny just went in the clinch, started trying to dirty box a little bit, and also just throwing wild haymakers. None that really landed, though. Yeah, none of them really landed, and with Temperrr, the way Temperrr rocked him and then stayed composed, touched him with the jab a little bit, touched him with the lefts a little bit, and Kenny also touched him with the lefts too. It was pretty even after that moment, but the big moment was to Faze Temperrr that round, and I gave that one a 10-9. This one is a little bit closer for Faze Temperrr, or it was a little bit closer between the two. I think round one was more obvious to Temperrr. This one was a little bit closer, but definitely to Temperrr, just because of that big moment he had early on. But besides that, Kenny honestly would have won that round if Temperrr didn't have that big moment. Round 3, we see Kenny still showing all of this technical prowess that he has, showing that he is truly a good fighter. He's coming out just tapping Faze Temperrr with the jab, not doing any crazy damage, and Temperrr starts to lightly land too. He's actually landing at the start of this round, starting to lightly land some shots, but Kenny is really starting to condition with that parry like I talked earlier, and he's really finding the home for the ones and twos to the body. He's putting more pressure on Temperrr, and that's where we see what's actually working for him. And this is what really won him the round, in my opinion. I think Kenny did take this round. The way he was putting pressure on Faze Temperrr and actually landing. When he was blitzing in, he was landing. It didn't look very pretty. It wasn't as pretty as he looks from the outside. When he's from range, King Kenny's got a really long reach. He's physically a really good boxer just looking at his reach, but when he got on the inside, that's how he won this round. I think he definitely won this round. Both guys seemed to land a good amount between themselves, pretty even landing wise, but Kenny landed slightly more shots and more effective shots, and also controlled Temperrr more this round. And I think when rounds are close, we have to go to ring gentlemanship anyways, but I give this one to Kenny. It's a debatable round for sure. I can see an argument for Faze Temperrr, but I definitely give this one to King Kenny. So on my card right now, it's 2-1 going into the 4th round. Now, round 4, Temperrr came out, and this was his by far the best start he had to any rounds on the entire night. Temperrr came out, started throwing and landing pretty big. Kenny also was landing, and Kenny was also slipping a good amount of shots as well. I think Temperrr was landing a bit harder shots. He was definitely landing harder shots, and I think most people would agree that midway through the round, it seemed pretty even the amount of shots thrown and landed. And as the round went on, I think Temperrr slightly edged it with his control of the ring. But both guys had not massive moments in this round, but they both landed their rear hands, their twos. They both landed their rights and lefts. So I understand someone giving this to Temperrr. Or, I mean, I get someone understanding a 10-10 for this round. I know that's really rare in boxing, but a 10-10 for this round is actually fairly understandable. I give this 10-9 Temperrr, but for argument's sake, we could give this a 10-10 round. Right, for argument's sake, we'll say it's a 10-10, but on my scorecard, I had it 10-9 Temperrr, and that's 3-1 to Temperrr. Temperrr's automatically won this fight. But we'll move on to round number 5 to see if that round did matter, and we'll see if Temperrr actually took this last round. So Temperrr came out and simply just had more moments in that 5th round. I didn't give this 5th round as analytical of a breakdown. I didn't break this one down frame by frame. I just gave it a rewatch. I'm not going to lie. And he honestly just had more moments in this round. Especially later on in the round, which definitely influences how judges score rounds. He just landed bigger shots later on as well. And I understand an argument for Kenny winning this one. Kenny was definitely obviously more technical. He wasn't every round, but the way he was just kind of touching him with the jab, not doing really any damage. And I see this one as a round for Temperrr. My official scorecard was 4-1 to Temperrr, but I understand an argument for Kenny and giving that a 3-2 to Temperrr. But yeah, this fight was a robbery, 100%. This is almost as big of a robbery as the Nissan Gibb fight. This actually might be a bigger robbery than Gibb's fight. So that's how I saw this one after a frame-by-frame breakdown, after looking at every single shot, determining if it landed, determining what shots were light, medium, heavy, and what shots did the most damage, who had the bigger moments. Definitely was just Faze Temperrr, man. Big time robbery. I'm a fan of King Kenny too. I don't really know who Faze Temperrr is. I don't think I'm biased in this commentary, in this video. So let me know what you guys thought down below. I think this is probably the biggest robbery, if not the second biggest, one of the two. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought down in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe as always. And yeah, I'll see you next time.